So, what are the chances we start a podcast?
100% chance. I think that we should do this before every episode. Hi, guys. I am Hannah.
And I'm Sarah.
And welcome to What Are the Chances podcast.
Woo! You guys probably saw this coming when you saw Ellie's podcast. Here we are.
Here we are.
We're
It's been
so
a long
excited.
time coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is our dream. So,
Yeah.
here we are.
Welcome to it.
Welcome to the canceled podcast.
My name is Hannah Moja.
And I'm Brooke.
Okay, so in this episode, you're really going to get to know who Sarah and I are before the studio. So, Sarah, what were you doing before Ellie Studios was born into your life?
So, I was a doctor. Just kidding, guys.
The lore.
I was in college. I went to all 4 years. Still didn't think twice about it.
She went through. That was like dedication, actually.
Finished all 4. I loved it. I went to Westchester University. I loved it so much. So I wasn't leaving.
Yeah.
Regardless of I liked what I was doing or not.
Did you ever have a thought in the middle where you ever like,
No.
okay.
I loved being away from home, that I was just like, I'm just gonna keep partying
Yeah.
and doing my thing. I mean, I was homesick, but I never once was like, maybe college isn't for me because
Yeah.
I'm so good at school. So I was just
Right.
like getting good grades. So I was like, I'll stay.
Yeah.
Like, it's fun.
I mean, yeah, you never really had a like reason to be
Yeah.
like, I'm good on this.
Yeah, exactly. So I have my bachelor's in exercise science. I was doing pre-occupational therapy.
Like, she's smart, you
It
guys.
sounds crazy to
Yeah.
me that I even was doing that. I literally applied to school for my master's, got in, almost went, and I was like, no, this $250,000 debt, I can't go back. I can't go back with all this debt. So I had a time period where I was just doing like serving and like odd jobs, and I was like, you know what? Like, I've always loved beauty, and like I also was going to Ellie as a client, which is so weird, and Hannah too eventually.
funny, yeah.
Yeah, so weird. And I was like, I like love what they're doing. Like, I want to do this. So I didn't tell anybody except my fiance Todd. Shout out Todd, because he always supports me. And I knew like me wasting my degree, I wouldn't say wasted, but me not using my degree was gonna piss people off, my family off. So and it did.
And it did.
But we're fine. We moved on. But I was like, I need to do what I want to do. So I didn't tell anybody. I enrolled myself in at Rosiri. And
Slay.
yeah, and I paid it out of pocket. I did part-time, paid it all on my own, and it was a slay. I loved it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't even know all of that. I mean, I knew it, but I didn't know that you did it without telling anyone.
Yeah, no.
So what were your parents' like reactions when they found out?
They
Like,
were
did you just like wake up one morning in your white uniform, like ready
Yeah,
to go?
I was like, Mom, I need to go buy scrubs. She's like, oh, for your master's, your clinicals. I said, no, not for that.
Yeah.
They were pissed, and I think they were more pissed because like I have all this debt that I have to pay now, and like it's for nothing. But let me tell you, my whole degree was anatomy. So when I went to esthetician school, I was like, oh, this is easy.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like a lot of people discredit like
oh, it's hard.
school for like estheticians, cosmetologists, the whole thing. Like, you actually do have to know some things. Like, it's not just
It was all the whole body, anatomy,
Yeah.
nerves, chemistry. Like, it was so much stuff that I was like, honestly, thank God I
Yeah.
learned all of this, because my state boards, even I was like, half of that was prior knowledge from college.
Yeah.
So it did help me in that way. But it's like,
slay Westchester.
slay. We're going back to Westchester one day. So it all comes full circle.
We will film our podcast.
Yeah, we'll be in Westchester on the streets, but it all come full circle.
That's so funny.
But
I
yeah,
love that.
and I don't regret anything besides that monthly payment to Sally Mae.
She drains your bank account for no
does.
reason
She
too.
does.
I mean,
But I don't regret anything about that. So
that's a slay,
Yeah.
honestly.
I think it was perfect timing too. Like, the industry is popping off.
Yeah.
And I think I slid in there right before it was like really hard to find a job. So, well, even though
I agree.
this job, pure luck, but
It was not pure luck. She discredits herself so much.
it was. was.
It was not.
I was still in school. It was luck. It was luck. And Griffin.
Thank you, Griffin.
So Hannah, how did you become an esthetician?
So my story is pretty much the opposite of Sarah's story.
You were like right off the dome. I'm going to esthetician school.
Well, like I was not good at school at all. Like, and it wasn't that I wasn't good at school. I just like truly didn't like school.
Yeah.
It didn't like, I was so lazy about school that I knew that like college was never going to be what I was going to do, but it was what everyone was doing.
Yeah.
So I just did it. Like,
that's what's hard is everybody's doing
and like
it,
no
and they
one
look at
tells
you weird if you're
yeah,
not.
no one tells you that it's okay to do other things. Like, bless you.
Our upstairs neighbor just sneezed, and God bless you, sir. That was so scary. Can we tell them, guys? It's 10:22 right now, and we're filming our
Good
first
night.
episode. Good night. So we're a little delulu.
Yeah,
but anyways,
that'll make it.
that will
good.
make it good and juicy.
Juicy.
Continue.
What was I saying? Oh, so yeah, no one ever tells you that it's okay to go to anything other than college. And I was just like, all right, Camden County, I'm coming for you. And I enrolled for my first semester and I showed up for probably a week. Like one singular
proud of
week.
you for
Yeah.
that. I love
Yeah.
that.
Honestly. And then once I realized how easy it was to not show up to classes in
Oh my
college.
gosh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a wrap for me
Yeah.
and my college. I don't even know what I was going for. Psychology?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone is undecided.
I pulled
psychology.
that out of thin air. I had no idea what that
That
even
was me with
meant.
occupational.
Yeah.
I think I googled like top paying jobs working with kids. Never ever again will I work with kids. Let's just say that.
That
Never.
has to be tough.
No, never again. Never again.
So yeah, I went for a week and I don't even know if my mom knows to this day that I actually didn't finish out that semester. I think she thinks that I closed out the semester. And I remember crying in my car and calling my mom and being like, I'm gonna be a massage therapist.
That's where you start. I did not know that.
And she was like, where's that coming from? And I was like, I don't know. I can't think of anything else. And she was like, well, what about doing hair? And I was like, well, I'm not good at doing hair. And she was like, yeah, but like, you don't have to be to start. So
Right.
like, like just go to cosmetology school and see where it takes you.
I feel like you are good at doing hair. Were you
Well,
not always good?
I was, but like, I have a really hard time like knowing if I'm good at something.
Okay.
So I was just like,
In denial.
yeah. And my mom was like, well, I mean, like, yeah, you've never colored hair before, but I know you have an
Right.
interest.
No one has. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I thought that people in cosmetology school, like, I don't know, like grew up in salons or had parents. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just thought that.
No one knows a bleach and tone right
no
off
one
the
knows
bat.
the future right off the bat. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I don't know what else to do. And it's that or not. Like, I'm not going back to Camden County. So I toured around. I went to Rosieri. It was way too expensive for me. And at the time, so I graduated high school in 2015. So this was in 2017 because in 2016, I was still like thinking I was in Camden County. So in 2017, I was like, I didn't know what it meant to pay for like school. Like my mom was doing the financial aid for me. And we went to PB Cosmetology in Gloucester City. That's where I graduated from. And I went for cosmetology and I was fully set on doing hair. And I didn't even think twice about it. Once I got into it, honestly, it was like a really fun time for me.
Really?
So I went full time. It was 1,200 hours. So it took me about like a year, I think.
Double what esthetician is for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah, so it took me about a year and I met like the best people. I had the best time.
I loved my
It
class,
was so
too.
fun.
Yeah.
It was so much fun and like, yeah, I was fully into hair. I got a job right at the end of my cosmetology school, like right before I was about to graduate. I remember being on the phone. I got a job at Hair Cuttery and I was so excited. I was like, holy
That's how
shit.
you know.
Can we curse on here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I can't not curse.
Me
so
either.
If that offends you, I'm sorry.
sorry. Click
out.
away.
Click out. Scroll. I can't not.
No,
It's,
same.
yeah, unfortunately, a part of my vocabulary.
Me too.
So
Yeah,
okay,
it gets
yeah,
a
we'll
little
start there.
aggressive
Yep.
too. So, yeah. So I got a job at Hair Cuttery, and honestly, like the girls in my class who got a job at like a high end salon didn't know how to do anything. Respectfully,
Yeah,
they knew how to
you're
like
starting
do
with the
one thing.
basics,
Yeah, and
yeah.
I would get a walk in, and it would be like a men's cut, and I would be like, I can do it. I grew so much confidence. I don't know where this came from. I was
Yeah,
like, I
I
could
could
do
never.
anything. Like you couldn't tell me I couldn't do anything. I was like, all right, get in my chair. Like, let's do it. Because if I don't do it, then
What
I'm
else am I
never going to
gonna
do it. Yeah. So I just started cutting and coloring away. And I was like, this is great. I love this. I was making like, and it was really hard too, because at that point, all of my friends and everyone that I knew, like, okay, so you graduate in 2015 high school. So in 2017, their sophomore year
Yeah.
of college. So no one was making money. And like, I'm not saying I was making big bucks, but like,
For your
I was
age,
making
and you
money
have,
for my
like,
age.
relatively
Yeah.
no bills either
Exactly.
yet,
Yeah.
so-
I didn't even have my first car yet. I was still whipping my Dodge Neon, 2002 Dodge Neon.
I'm still whipping my first car. She's hanging on. She's from established 2016. She's still hanging on.
She does great. So yeah, I started making a lot of money in tips, like cash tips and commission. And at the time I was getting paid like commission or hourly. So it wasn't like I had
you
to
could
like fill my
choose.
book. Yeah. Like
Okay.
if I didn't make enough in commission, I would get hourly.
nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was like getting a paycheck. I mean, my
Yeah.
coworkers were like full blown like moms with
Yeah.
families. And
Yeah.
I was like this
That's probably comforting,
19,
honestly.
20-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't even 21 yet. And I was just like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do forever.
Yeah.
And I built a book up and I was kind of finding my way. I left hair cuttery for a little bit. I don't remember where. I worked in so many salons. Like, if you're in the industry and you did that, like, you know that, like, you know that feeling where you just go into a salon and you're like, oh, hell no. And I would be like, oh, I'm doing hair at home tonight. I got to take myself home. And I would just never show up again. Like, and I'm like being so honest
The 2
with you.
weeks were nowhere to be found. It's just up and
Nowhere. It was just like, I just never showed back up. But
Respectfully.
yeah, respectfully, you'll never see me
Yeah,
again. And they deserved it. And yeah, so I just went back to hair cuttery and then I moved on to another salon, which I don't have nice things to say, so I won't even say their name. Hair cuttery was great. Loved hair cuttery. If you're
Which is like
It's surprising.
I feel like when you're in school, everyone was like, "Oh, I'm never working at this place. I'm
Too
never
good for
working
that."
at that." No,
if you think that you're too good for anything, you're
never
going to
gonna
be
make
stuck
it.
where you are because you are not too good for that.
Yep.
I learned and met so many good people through hair cuttery. And yeah, and I always went back. I always tried to be like, oh, I'm at this high-end salon, and I hated it.
Yeah.
It was always like mean people and mean clients,
Yeah.
respectfully. And yeah, so then I started working at this high-end salon and they were like, you have to assist for, I don't know, like however many months they were
the
requiring.
assisting thing gets me with
Crazy.
hair. I have so many
Yeah.
people tell me like they'll be like doing hair for so long and they're like assistant.
Yep.
And I'm like,
Yeah. And like at this
At what point can you do hair?
So
Like-
this was 2020 now. Now we're into 2020. I started doing hair in 2017. So
Yeah.
I had been doing hair
like,
for
you're
quite a
still
while.
baby, but you
Yeah.
know a lot now.
I had people, like I had clients. And the salon that I was working at was just like, all right, you have to assist for, I think it was like 3 months. So I was like, I can do that. Who texted us?
Just, can you get checks mix on the way?
Please get this man checks mix. Yeah, so at this point I had clients and I had to assist and I was like, fine, I'll freaking do it. So I did it and then COVID hit. And at this point I was like, I'm over hair just because like the people in the industry ruined it for me. And I was like, I had such a bad taste in my mouth. I was like, I hate this. I'm so unhappy. I don't feel like motivated. I don't feel good when I leave work. Like
Yeah.
it was just too much. And COVID happened and the salon shut down and I literally sat at home and I was like, I'm done with the industry. I'm done with the cosmetology industry. But like, where do I go now? I felt like I was stuck back like in the parking lot of Camden County crying again. I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't go back there. And I went on Indeed and I found a chain place.
We'll leave it at chain.
We'll leave it at a chained place. But they were training for 6 weeks paid for waxing, body waxing. And I was like, I literally have
Why the
nothing
fuck
to
not?
lose.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck it. Like, they don't teach you that in cosmetology school.
No, they teach respectfully.
Respectfully.
They teach you the bare minimum, and typically it's like their way, like the
Yes.
school's way of doing those things, like
Yep.
their techniques, and it's like the bare minimum. They're more worried about you passing your boards, and that's it.
Yeah.
So.
And that's just the industry. And I always tell people, my clients who are like, I want to go, I'm like, go. It's the best thing you'll ever do. But like everything that you need to know, you will learn out of those walls, out of that building. So yeah, I went and I started body waxing from doing hair. I was like, I don't know anything, like from nothing. Like, so I
Do
trained
you learn waxing in like
For,
through
like, a day.
cosmetology? Okay.
for like one day.
Okay.
And it was a joke.
Yeah.
And it just sucks because like when you're going for cosmetology to school, like you would think that they would respect all aspects of the industry because that's what
Yeah.
it means.
I think nails, hair,
Yeah.
like, it's all separate
It's
now. I feel like a little bit.
I think I had a day of nails as well, and it was
Okay.
a joke.
Yeah.
Like the teacher wasn't even in the room. Like we were just like messing
They're
around.
like, here's the acrylic.
Literally, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway,
For all the money?
yeah, like yeah, exactly. And it was like a pretty intensive program. It wasn't like 2 weeks. It wasn't like a week. It was like you had to like fully pass the state board after this, which was not a joke.
Yeah.
And it was hard, and people failed for like
really
dropping a
hard.
comb.
Yeah.
Like literally
See,
dropping a comb.
Let's talk about that really
Yeah.
quickly. For anyone who doesn't know, when you try to get your license, so you take a written test and then you do like a physical, I don't know what
Like
to
a
call it.
what's it called? A
practical.
practical, yeah.
Like an in-person practical. So I didn't have to do it because since COVID, it's still lingering from COVID. That you don't have. I was so happy I didn't
I'm
have
so
to do it.
I literally am so
'Cause
happy
it
for you.
is genuinely like
Scary.
it's like your driver's license test. It's like this is so dumb. Like this will never get me anywhere in the industry. Like me knowing how to do half a face of day look and half a face of a night look in makeup respectfully is not gonna show anybody
Like,
that I
come
deserve my
on.
license. And
Yeah.
it was so dumb, but it was also scary because it's so specific that it's like you can't mess up anything
Nothing.
and you're timed, people are staring at you. Like
It was so scary.
Yeah, we did mock ones at
Yeah.
school, but I never had to do it, and I was like, thank God,
Yeah.
because I could not do that.
No.
So all I had to do to get my license was do a written exam, and then I had to work under a licensed esthetician or cosmetologist for 30 days, and they just sign off and you get your license. So I know
Which, like-
yours is probably way different.
I'm like,
than
that's
that.
so nice. No, honestly, I'm glad that what happened for you because it was just an unnecessary stress
Yeah,
that you did
it's-
not need.
yeah.
So during our state board practical, since we did like hair, we had to do a men's shave, like a face shave. It was so hard. You had to remember like 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I do remember it, but like it was so hard. And like you did it on like a mannequin. It was so weird. It was so
Yeah,
weird.
it was like the most impractical way. Like it was like for
But it was like, don't mess up.
Yeah.
Like, do a shave face
Yes.
on a girl mannequin, but don't mess up.
mine was
And put the shaving cream on,
the
please.
esthetician one was literally like do a facial in a folding chair and drape it like it's a bed, but you're sitting up straight and you have to have them lay their head back, but nothing can fall off their face, even though they're sitting in a literal fucking chair and not laying down. Like please.
It was absolutely ridiculous
Yeah.
what they would expect. So yeah, I trained for 6 weeks. And I loved it. I was like, oh, like I actually really like this. But it was scary. Like I think it was really easy for me because I had come from hair. So like I had come from in the industry, like knowing how to like I didn't have to learn how to act around clients.
Right. Yeah.
I just had to learn the skills. So it was a little like it wasn't like two things in one. But it was people's whole vaginas. And I wasn't used to that. So I was just like, all right, I really enjoy doing this and it actually really helps people. Like truly. And yeah, so then I was like, all right, well, I don't want to work here forever, but I do want to do this. And then it was just a whole thing with that job. And it was COVID. These people who franchise this area were not in the industry at all. And they did not get it. And the whole time working there, it was just like they did not respect what we did, or they just like looked down on us the whole time. So I was like, that was just my last straw. And I was like, I'm quitting. And I quit. And I had no job for like a few months. Like I was just jobless. I was living with my best friend. I stopped paying rent. I was like, I love you, but I have nothing to my name. And she was like, okie dokie. And then I went on Indeed and I was like, I'm not going back in this industry. Like that was it for me. That was fun and all, but no thank you. And then I saw Ellie Studios and I applied.
Which I can't believe that she put up a thing on Indeed.
Indeed.
Because
wax specialist
like,
on
not that
Indeed.
there's anything wrong with that, but it's just I just can't see her
So
doing
random,
that.
yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Like she was so good on Instagram and stuff. Like it wasn't.
She always posts stuff
Yeah.
like hiring on it, like with
Yeah.
a long list of requirements and like I
This
just
was
can't
like straight up on Indeed.
imagine
And I
being
was like, am I getting
Google
scammed?
Yeah.
Like, am I getting scammed? This place does not exist. Like,
I mean, it barely did.
it
at that
barely
point,
did.
too.
I did.
It
I
was
mean,
so new.
it's not that I didn't take it seriously, but I was so at my like wits end
Yeah.
that I was like, like, you know how you go into an interview nervous and
Yes.
like wait, like you're like, oh, I hope they like me.
Always.
That was not the case here. I was like, I'm going in fully assertive
I love
and
that.
I
There
do
you go.
not care what they think of me. I didn't even know it was just Ellie. Like I had no idea what to
You're
expect.
expecting a panel.
I didn't know. Like
esthetician.
yeah, I didn't know. And I went into it and and if you know what the old studio looked like, we had a couch.
Miss her. We might
We
see
miss
her.
her.
Soon. We might see her soon.
Easter egg. We had a couch and I walked in and Ellie, just Ellie herself, is sitting on the
Probably
couch.
so confused.
Yeah.
We're like,
We're like, yay! And I sat down and it wasn't an interview, yes, but no. Like, it was more of like a, what, like, who are you?
Yeah, well, you probably went in, like, from what you've told me, you probably went in with the energy of, like, you can interview me, but I'll decide if
Oh,
I'm going to work here or
100%.
not.
I
So,
was interviewing Ellie.
Yeah.
No, I know Ellie had people who had also applied other than me. I know she was doing a few people, but I was just like, this is what I do. This is how I do it. And that's really it. And I'm not looking for anything else. And Ellie was like, I respect you for that. And let's do a second interview. And I was like, okay. And yeah,
Did you have, like, good feeling after the first one?
I did because I really liked Ellie. Like me and Ellie, like we just clicked so
Yeah.
easily. So that was really easy for me. But I was really scared because I had never worked somewhere that wasn't like a corporate
Yeah, like a
chain.
small business,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I was really nervous about money, obviously, and the fact that where I had previously worked was a little far. So I was not expecting anyone to follow over. So I was just like, oh God, like, is this
risk.
even realistic?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And I don't think Ellie like got back to me like quick. So I was just like, oh God, I kind of like not gave up on it, obviously,
No.
but I was kind
And
of
that's
like,
when it comes to you
Yeah.
stop thinking about it, and then it's
yes,
like,
yes, yes.
email.
Exactly. I was just kind of like, oh my gosh, I started working with my mom.
What is baking?
I was,
baking
imagine
cookies?
this, a property manager.
I mean, you're a good manager. Like,
I
you're
was
good at
Sarah's
that.
manager for like 3 days.
I love every day of every minute.
So yeah, I was a property manager at a apartment complex in Bordentown. And I drove up there every single day, and Ellie like reached out to me and she was like, all right, let's do the second interview. And I was like, girlie, I'm a property manager. We got to do it after hours. I had no
can't
idea what I was doing. Like
Did you have like a hard hat? Like what kind of properties are we talking?
like I worked in the office. Like
Oh,
people
okay.
like I managed
Okay.
the
So not
building.
in the field. Just
No. Like Stanley.
cubicle.
Oh, shout out Stanley. He was so kind.
Oh,
he
I
was
thought you
he
meant
was the
Stanley has taken over. I thought you meant the cup. The hydration.
I'm like my Stanley got me through. No, the what are they called? The like the person who takes care of everything like that. Like if you have a leak, you call this person, and it was Stanley.
Like a
and me and him worked very closely together because I would get all the complaints and then I would reach out to Stanley. So anyway, Ellie was like, let's do a like trial of like a Brazilian because like she can't just be hiring anyone, right? I talked a big game. And then she was like, all right, well, let me see before I hire you. So one of my girls actually from my old place had we had stayed in contact and I had her be my model and I use soft wax. We use soft wax.
Which is I mean, there's not many waxing chains, but I feel like nobody uses soft. Like I was,
was
shook
so
when you
hard.
said that your chain used soft
Yeah,
wax.
yeah,
Like
only
I feel
soft
like
wax.
nobody uses soft wax except for
I know.
us.
I know.
Like
and thank
only solely
God,
soft
thank
wax.
God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we love.
Love
her.
soft wax. So I showed up to Ellie with my client and she's still my client to this day. Shout out Tara. We fucking love you. A literal OG. Like I've been waxing her since like 2020. That's crazy. That's wild. I know. So yeah, she came in and she lives far too, but she was like, girl,
I'm there.
what am I supposed to do? Like
me the
I
Addy.
stopped waxing at this point for like 3 months and she was like,
Ooh.
what are we doing here?
She's like, when's my next
Yeah,
birthday?
she's like, are we
She's like, can I
rebooking or what?
rebook?
So yeah, we showed up and Ellie was like, all right, well, I'll show you how I do it. And Ellie used hard wax.
Which is Ellie hates waxing.
Yes.
Like the fact that she was like, let me do it. Let me show you. Like Ellie would,
Trying to
those
be
words
so-
would never come out of her mouth.
and
No.
I literally was like,
You're like, okay, show me, but I know. You're like, I ain't using
Yeah.
that hard wax,
and
girl, respectfully.
respectfully. And let me tell you, Tara is a tough cookie. I have done many waxes on this girl and I've never seen her flinch. And Ellie's sitting there doing hard wax and Tara is flinching. And I was like, Ellie, please step aside.
Interesting.
Please let the professional enter. Just kidding. But yeah, so then I started doing my thing and Ellie was like, you're good. And I was like, yeah.
The first time I ever saw you wax, I was like, wow.
Which is crazy because I
Mic drop.
yeah. This is like the only thing in my life that I've ever felt confident in, like ever. Which is crazy to say. It's so weird. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
it's literally waxing, but
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
Okay, but waxing is hard.
It's hard.
I
had a hard one today.
apologize to those who I did my first few Brazilians on because holy fuck, it is so hard. Oh my
hard.
god, like nobody talks about it. Like yeah, it's like as easy as apply, rip in your no.
hard.
There was times where quite literally nothing was coming. I said, how is that possible?
You said the math ain't nothing.
The wax is on, the
No.
strip is on. Why
Yeah.
is it not coming out?
Yeah.
Like, and there's a whole science behind it.
Yeah.
Like, give yourself more credit.
I
for
know,
that
I
because
know,
It's
but
hard.
it is hard. Yeah, and then I just started working. I had like one client a week.
So, I'm trying to think. How long were you there before I started my interview process? My interview process was starting around like December, November of 2022,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, because I started in I think like I started my interview process in like the beginning of February of 2021.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so you were there for like
Almost a year. Yeah,
Okay.
almost a year.
Yeah.
Not that long before you started interviewing and yeah, I had literally one client a week and I was still property managing.
That's the shit that nobody
And that's what
tells
no one
you.
talks about. My paychecks were like $60. And this is the first time that I've ever been paid just commission. So I was like culture shocked and I was like, oh my gosh. am I going to survive? And just like Todd, I had a really supportive man. Thank you, Anthony.
Shout out,
Yeah, shout out. And he was like, just keep going.
Yeah,
You're
you love
fine.
it.
Yeah, you're fine.
That's the thing, though, is like anybody who asks, we get all the time.
Yeah.
Get people that are like, I want to become an esthetician. And it's like, you have to want it for you. Like,
Yes.
you cannot want it for money.
Nope.
You cannot want it for clout,
Yep.
if you want to say.
For
like,
fun. If you think
for
it's fun, it's not. It is, but it's
fun.
not.
It's
not.
hard as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot, like, you have to want it and be hungry
Yes.
for those clients, because it's gonna look like
Yeah.
that for a while.
A long time.
I mean, you can't go into it thinking like, I post every day. I posted every day. Posting does not equal clients. Like, you have to want it, and it's gonna be a fucking
It's
struggle.
gonna be humbling. Humbling.
You will get rocked off that horse.
You will 12 times
You'll get
over.
pushed off
you
it.
will still. I'm still getting pushed off it.
We're down here right now.
Yeah.
We were just kicked recently. We'll get into
We're
that in
still
a later
fighting.
episode.
Yeah, stay tuned for that. Yeah, so I had one client a week and I was fighting for my life, and I was really scared because at this point, like, I was the only part of waxing at the studio. So like, I didn't have anyone else, like, except for Ellie, obviously, but she was doing a whole different thing.
Yeah, to like relate to.
Yeah, like I didn't have anyone making waxing content with me. Like,
Yeah.
it was on me. Like, if I wasn't posting waxing, we weren't getting waxing clients. So it was the first time that I was ever like alone. Like, I've always worked for corporate places where they were advertising for me.
Right.
I was.
And that's another journey
Yeah.
in this industry.
Oh my God, yeah. And that
is
was
social
humbling.
media,
Yeah. And I'm like not that good. Like, I can do it, but like I'm not that tech savvy with it. And I struggle still to this day with that. But yeah, I was just like, oh my gosh, like I have no choice. I have to start posting. So I did, and I did my best, and I grew. Like, I grew a pretty good book. And obviously a lot of it was Ellie's clients being like, oh my God, I want to start getting waxed too. But a lot of it was from Instagram, and I would DM people and I would reach out to people, follow people, like everyone's post. Like, I would just make myself known so that if they're seeing my name over and over again on Instagram, when they think of a wax, they're gonna think of me.
Yeah.
So that was my main goal. And I built a pretty big book, honestly. I was like shocked with what I was eventually bringing home. Obviously, it wasn't like, you know, I needed to improve it
It's
still.
good
but
for only being there.
yeah, not even a year.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, do you know that video of Ellie and you in the tent? And Ellie's like, why are you here? And you were like, I work here.
I work here. I work here now.
So why do you work here?
So let's just start with my interview process was very, very different. Respectfully, I was scared of Ellie. She was so like down to business, and obviously I had only seen her as like a service provider, which we're being silly. When I sat down for that interview, I was like, holy shit. Like, I was about to start giggling, and then she's like, okay, so I'm going to set a few boundaries. And I'm like, all right, let's
Right off the
do
bat.
it. Yeah. I was scared, but in a good way. Like, I was really like attracted to that because I was like, okay, this is a small business, but she means business and shit is getting done here. And I could see that from just going there as a client. Like, I the minute I met Ellie, I was like, this girl is going to go far, and I want to go with her.
Yeah.
That's just how I feel. We still feel
Still
that way.
feel that way,
Everything
yeah.
that's going on right now, if you know, with State Board, we're like, we're not leaving. Like,
And Ellie always says to us, like, oh gosh, like, I just don't deserve you guys. And I'm like, no, Ellie, I'm not complimenting you. Like, you get what you put out, and you put out just like being a great person and a great boss to us. And that's why you're receiving, like, you're not receiving it because we just love you so much. Obviously we do, but like, you're receiving it because you put that work out to your employees, and it's showing.
So hardworking.
Yeah.
So always is thinking outside of the box, and I think we all do, and that's why we all click.
Yeah.
So I did my first interview. It was very strict and stern, down to business, which I liked. I left a little scared, but I liked it.
Did you think you got, like, how did you think the interview went when you left?
I thought it went good,
Mm-hmm.
but then she pulled that shit on me where it was like she asked you a fucking riddle basically, and it's like you didn't get the riddle.
No.
So
But it was the hairdressing one?
yeah, basically I'm like, do I spoil the question for any future employee?
Maybe not, because it's her
Okay,
question.
I'm sitting there like, she's like, take your time. I'm like, take my time. I don't even know what the fuck to say. Like, so I did it, and she was like, you are the first person and the only person that has ever hit every single bullet point that I have. And I was like, how the fuck? Like,
You're like,
I just blacked out and anything came out of my mouth. I can't wait to be on the other side eventually, maybe one day, because I am so nervous in interviews, even though like I love talking to people, but it just makes me like frustrated because I'm so silly, and then I'm like scared and quiet.
And you're like, this isn't me.
Yes,
but like I
exactly.
have to be this way.
But it was, I don't know, it was good. I was like, okay, I'm not walking into just like this young girl owning it and like taking it like a joke. Like this is serious.
Yeah.
So then this was like an hour-long interview, by the way.
That's crazy.
So then she's like, okay, I'm gonna reach out to you. I think she told me like, okay, like you got a second interview.
Yeah.
I was like, a second interview? like
how many
I'm
phases?
traumatized from the first one.
You're like, I'm good. I don't
like,
want it.
No, I did. I really wanted
Yeah,
it.
I know.
Funny story. I was between two jobs at the time, so I was interviewing with another like studio salon for, I think it was just for front desk, but I was like, I'll take anything I can get. Like it was like front desk, but like eventually you move up, and I was like, I can be front desk. I don't know shit. Like I don't mind being front desk and moving my way. Like that's how this industry works. So I mean, it was nice that like I wasn't being a front desk at LE Studios. Like I was being offered like a real position. So then I think it was like anytime the other place wouldn't answer me, Ellie would answer me, and then I would hear back. I wouldn't hear from Ellie, and then I would hear from the other place, and then I'm like, oh my god,
So conflicted.
I'm like, guys, like, and then eventually, I was like, this other place wanted me to do a second interview, and I was like, okay, like I haven't heard back from Ellie, like I'll do it. I'll do the second interview.
The Lord.
See what happens. I know, it's crazy. See what happens. And then literally we like can't find a date to schedule the second interview. Like we're going back and forth. And there's like a pause where I'm like, okay, I don't know like what to do.
That was a sign.
And literally the same day, they both emailed me on the same day. And I was like, of course. Oh
my God.
But it turned me off. The other place was taking like a really long time to answer. So I was
That
like,
was Ellie with me.
yeah.
I was like,
she was taking, she didn't take that long for me. It was like a respectful amount of time where I was like, okay,
well, I feel like
busy.
At that point, Ellie was like, not that she wasn't professional with me, because she was. Like, it was very much like we were both down to business and we weren't messing with each other.
And you weren't new. Like,
And
I was new, and I feel like she had to feel out, okay, is she ready for this? Like, does she want to be dedicated? Like, does she have what it takes type of thing?
Yeah.
So they both answered me. I was like, okay, like I want to work for Ellie, so I'm gonna interview. I don't even remember what the second she scared the memory out of me. I don't remember.
Traumatized.
I don't remember. It was probably good.
What are the chances Ellie traumatized you?
That's a future episode. I think we just talked about you. I think she was like, don't tell anyone. But Hannah's pregnant.
Yep.
And she was like,
So wait, did you know when you were getting interviewed the first time that it was because I was pregnant?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I did. And she was like, don't say anything to anyone, but like we're gonna need you to happen ASAP type of thing.
Yeah.
So I was like sitting on this secret for so long. And
like we didn't even know each other yet. Well, we did know each other, but
but only as client. And
I think I waxed your underarms like one time.
Literally,
or like a few times, because I remember being like, oh, my client. Well, because so I remember Ellie coming up to me. Well, okay, after I told her that I was pregnant, I said to her, like, I think that we need to hire someone now, because we had no plans of expanding at this point. We just had never like talked about it, and we were always like, oh God, like we're scared, like you get so like comfortable that bringing another like entity in, it can be like scary. So we just like never thought about it. And then I got pregnant.
Dun, dun,
Dun, dun, dun. And I was like, oh, Ellie, I think we need to get on it. And Ellie was like, well, do you think Sarah would be interested? And I'm like, I don't know, ask her. So yeah,
That's
then
another lore behind
That was
the
another
lore behind
lore.
me getting hired.
Yeah.
So I was in school still. I think this was like November-ish, September, October, I don't know, the fall.
Yeah.
And I was graduating in like February, and I just didn't want to be that client because, and like we love you guys. Like I
No,
love
yeah.
answering questions, but I knew that Ellie was getting 1,000 people in her chair being like, oh my God, are you hiring? Like, I'm in school.
Yeah.
School. And I just didn't want to do that. Like, I wanted to just get my lashes done and chat. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt weird.
We like
being
weren't
like that.
sure if Sarah was going to be down. We
I
were
was
like,
playing hard to get. No, I actually wasn't playing hard to get. I was just scared to say something. And then my sister actually was the one who told her I was in
Yeah.
school. I didn't even tell her I was in school.
Yeah.
And Ellie did my sister's lashes. She's like, oh, Sarah's in esthetician school. And Ellie was like, what the
What?
fuck? This bitch just didn't tell
Yeah,
me.
like just straight up
I was
didn't.
like, I wanted to tell you, but I didn't. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
you just never know how it, like, I don't know if she would think it was gonna be weird, like, oh, you came to me to get your lashes once
Right.
and now you want to do what I do,
Right,
like,
right.
and she would never think that, but like, I don't know, that's just me overthinking 24/7.
Yeah.
So I hadn't even mentioned to her that I was in school for like the longest time, and then finally
Thank
I did,
God.
and they were just like hand plucking me behind the scenes.
We
I
did.
guess.
We sure did.
Yep.
Because I mean, if you've ever been pregnant before, you get very sick in your first trimester. And I feel like, not to pat myself on the Badusi,
That's staying. It's staying.
but I held in there.
No, you did.
I held in. I mean, point blank, honestly, I was throwing up between clients. I was throwing up. I was putting your first solution on. I was waiting the 6 minutes and I was going to the bathroom and I was throwing up. I was like passing out. Like, it was a mess. And I was like, Ellie, have you interviewed Sarah yet? And Ellie's like, oh my God, like, I am doing so many things. And I was like, okay, well,
She
Miss
also
Ma'am.
was like, I don't think she wants to work for me.
she's like, well, I don't even
Damn,
know.
I was being a little too quiet about it.
She was like, well, I don't even know if Sarah's like down. And I was like, do you want me to reach out? Because like
We gotta
I'm
get this
getting,
going.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm getting, you know.
Yeah, I think Ellie actually brought it up while she
Yeah.
was doing my lashes or something, or my
I
brows.
remember her being like, well, she comes in for her lashes. And I was like,
And she said like, oh, like, do you like, what do you want to do? Like, she was like trying to get a feel for like,
we're so
if
annoying.
I
We
know.
had your whole career planned
I
out.
literally for me, my path was picked.
Do you resent us?
No,
Okay.
that's a thing that Ellie says to us all the time.
Do you resent us?
She literally was like, "Do you love facials?" Like, she was like, "What do you want to do?"
Literally, like,
And I did for a quick
Yeah.
second, a hot second. I did like facials, and then I was like, "Absolutely not."
I remember Ellie coming to me after this conversation, after it was like you were getting your lashes done,
Yeah.
and her being like, oh God, Hannah, she likes facials. Like, I don't know if she's gonna want to wax. And I was like,
No, I loved waxing though too.
Yeah.
Like, and then that's why when you said you wanted to be a massage therapist, I was like, oh, because I like literally what I hated the most about facials was fucking massaging
Yeah.
people with that oil.
I don't know
the
why I
fucking
ever thought
olive
that.
oil. I was
Oh,
like, I can't
God.
do this. And it was just like, I need to be talking. I
Yeah.
would sit there half the time at school when they give you your clients and be laughing while these people's eyes were closed.
and it was like silent. You have to be
Yes.
silent. And you have to be this,
And
which
you
I
have
get,
this,
but like, it was never
horny
me.
ass spa music on, and
Yeah.
I would sit there dying laughing. I'm like, what
I could
time
never,
is it?
I could never picture you
I'm
massage.
like-
If I walked in and you were my massage therapist, I'd be like, wrap it up.
I was literally like, oh, we got 30 minutes left. Like, let's do a 30-minute mask. Like, I was like, I'm not.
30-minute mask is crazy.
No, I was never doing this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
But it was like so dumb that it didn't matter what you did. But so I was, for a quick second, she was like, do you like waxing? And I was like, yeah, I love waxing. Like,
And we were like,
and
Sold.
yeah. So
Sold.
I don't remember like the details. I think she basically straight up was like, okay, well, do you want to come in for an interview? And I was like, yeah. So then we do my 2 interviews. My second one was like it wasn't really an interview.
Was it like hands-on?
No, that came after. I had multiple things. Yeah, no, that came after. So my
gosh,
second
Ellie.
one wasn't like her asking me questions. It was more like her telling me the details of the job and like what
Gotcha.
my hours would be, what my
Yeah.
pay would be, like just the specifics. But
Yeah.
I was basically like, I got the job.
Yeah.
And then I had to do models and like do waxing and like, well, I think what did I do? I had to have done like an underarm wax because I didn't know how to do Brazilians. Besides, I did 2 or 3 that I YouTubed. Never again.
That's a clip.
Never again. Yeah, never again. I will never do a YouTube Brazilian again. So
A
scary.
YouTube Brazilian.
They have it all out there for you too.
The
And
whole
I still
Badoosie?
couldn't do it. The whole Badoosie. And I
Holy
still couldn't
shit.
fucking do it. So
What were you doing it? You're just
my basement.
Badoosi's in the basement? Oh my
Badoosie's in the
God.
basement.
That's
for real.
impressive.
That's a fucking
I mean,
thing.
it takes some balls to even do that.
I just wanted to do
Who'd
it.
you do it on?
My friends. My good friends.
Were they scared?
Oh my god, yeah. They were like crying. Like shout out Taylor. When I did Taylor's, it was a 2-person job. And I was like, I respectfully don't know what to do. And she was, but it was like, it wasn't bad. I was also using hard wax.
Yeah.
Didn't know how to use hard wax. They didn't, at least in my class, we didn't learn hard wax. So
Yeah.
I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could have hurt someone. I could have insured, could have called a lawsuit. I think I had made like little forms on Canva too.
How
I was like,
cute.
respectfully sign this. 'Cause I got all these loans. I can't catch a lawsuit.
It's Taylor just suing you.
Taylor would never. She'd apologize for me hurting her. I love her. That's my best friend.
Taylor, we love
you. Shout out Taylor.
No, seriously.
So then I must have done like an underarm, and Ellie was just like, I just want to see how you can interact while you're doing the service, because that's a skill in itself too, is being able to keep a conversation while you're focusing on doing your service like efficiently.
Yeah.
So
Especially with waxings, you have to distract them as much as possible.
yes, and it helped. It really does help. So, and she was like, oh, like you have that part down.
Literally.
Like, and which I do, because I just don't, like, I take my job very seriously. Like, I feel like a lot of people might get that misconstrued from me because I'm always being a fucking bullshitter and like being silly, but like I take this shit very seriously. I put my hours in, I put my hard work in. Like, I do everything in my power to like make my job more successful and like just do what I can. But in the same breath, it's like you can't, like, I just don't take it seriously when it comes to having conversations, because it's like no one wants to feel awkward when you're already in this vulnerable service. Like, no one wants to feel like they can't talk to you, or they're just laying there and like you're doing what you need to do on the Badoosie, and like
Badoosie out. No
like,
conversation.
just feeling like it's silent. Like so she was basically like, yeah, you have that part down. Like, that's not going to be an issue. And then I think we had like a team meeting, I think, and I met you.
Yeah.
Not met you.
I don't
I keep
remember.
saying met you.
No, but like talk.
But actually
because it was
talked.
always like, okay, Hannah is pregnant. You're going to be taking Hannah's book. Like, and at this point, I was having a book. Like, for someone to come straight out of school into my book, I give her so much credit, because that was
terrifying.
hard.
It
like,
was terrifying.
usually when you come out of school, you start small and you make your mistakes and you learn, and it is what it is. But I mean, think of Sarah. She was coming from someone who had been waxing for 4 years. I mean, well, at the time, I guess 2 years, which still, or
No, 4.
well, now it's been 4.
Oh.
Because I started in 2020. So 3 years. So she had been starting from someone's book who was waxing for 3 years.
Yeah. And I was
A new waxer. Like, I always have to give her, like, sometimes she does not give herself
rough.
enough credit. And I'm like, Sarah. And I was busy, like, I was doing like 15-minute Brazilians. So that's what that's the
And
kind
I
of
was
clientele
doing
that was used
40.
to. Yeah, but that's,
40 minutes.
I was also doing 40
Yeah.
when I was working at the first place I ever started working. So like, not only was she put into a huge book, she was put into little time slots that I've curated for my own speed. Everyone is different. So yeah, I give her a lot of credit for that, because that's hard.
Well,
that's really hard.
So it was scary. It was a scary time. But so that's when I went into training with you. And I was basically mostly learning Brazilians, but like just overall waxing
Yeah.
refresh in general. Because I didn't know how the fuck to do a Brazilian. Like I
And I didn't know how to
didn't.
fuck to train anyone, so.
Which is crazy because I always say, like, she was so good. Like, you were so good at teaching and just, like, being thorough. And, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, you just had the tricks that you can't find on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, how do you get in there, though?
How did
Like,
you do that?
How did you do that?
Yeah,
Like,
and I feel like that comes from what I said before about like I'm just so confident in it. Like I wasn't
and
like
you have to be. And
yeah.
that was my problem in the beginning and that's what Ellie would always say to me. She would be like, you need to be aggressive. And like,
Yeah.
I was more scared of like hurting someone and like putting someone in pain than I was putting them in more pain
Yeah.
because I was being too gentle with
Yeah.
it. And like,
you have to think of waxing as like when someone is getting a service by you, like all you want them to be is comfortable. Like
Yeah.
when you're doing lashes and brows, like you put comfy music on, like it's you're all vibing. Like when you're doing a wax, that person is in pain.
Yeah.
So like it can make this like if you're not the right person, you're not going to be able to do that
Yeah.
because that person's going to be needing you for like
and
major
if you're stressed,
reassurance.
if you're stressed, they're already
They're
stressed.
That's why I always
So,
told Sarah, I'm like,
yeah.
fake it
Fake it. Mm-hmm.
until you make it. Like pull that strip with confidence no matter if you're pulling it wrong,
Mm-hmm.
if it comes up with nothing, like pull that strip like you've never pulled a strip before because
Yeah.
they're gonna know.
Yeah. So I think I trained, like, I would literally, like, I was so thankful for all her clients that let me sit there in the corner.
I know they were
fucking
so
stare.
every single one of them.
Yeah.
Not one of my
Like,
clients
just
said
doing
no.
research in the
Yeah.
corner on the Badosi while they're just
I'm like,
laying.
so this is their lip.
They're like, who is this? Yeah.
But all
so
my
thankful
clients
for
were
them.
so
All of them.
welcoming.
You did not have one that
Not
was like,
one.
no,
Not
like
one single
They were
client.
so nice.
They were so
and that made me
nice.
feel a little bit better too that I was going into that on my own. 'Cause I was
Yeah.
like, okay, they're all like, I got to meet them
Yes.
all. Like,
and that was
all-
my plan. I had told Ellie like I want to train her as much as I possibly can while I'm pregnant,
Yeah.
so that they already know each other, so that when I'm gone, they're not coming in like meeting each other. You know, like I think I had all my clients a good amount of times before you had them by yourself. So like 2 or 3 times. I think you started training with me in
I think like
January. Yeah.
And then
I left in April. So you trained with me that whole time. She worked
Yeah.
my hours. She was in the room with me. Every single wax that I did. She watched my whole pregnancy. She literally watched my
there
whole
was times
pregnancy.
where we gotta tell the
Oh
Foot
my
Lord.
God.
This was her. We're gonna jump ahead real quick.
Yeah.
This was her very last day before
gosh.
maternity leave. She
was-
was on her very last client, full book, full book, and she was wearing. You're wearing slides at this
Yeah.
point.
At this point, I couldn't fit in anything.
Yeah, and she takes her slides off. Oh, it takes her socks off. I have never seen 2 swollen feet that big.
Sarah was like,
I
you
said,
need to go home.
I think you need to get off those real quick. I don't think you should be on those anymore.
And I was like, you're right. I do. And then I sat there and I was like, I have one
like,
more
no,
client.
I gotta push through.
I'm
I
pushing
said they're
through."
purple. Are you sure?
I think you're losing
Yeah,
circulation.
are you sure? They were
And I was
huge.
like,
they look like the moon shoes you bounce on.
bounce into the
I
Buddhist.
was scared. I was so scared. But no, I oh my God, so much respect for her for that. You like never. Oh my God, I don't know how you like
Thank you.
did it
I
because
don't know
you
how
were
I did
right
either.
up to your like I think like a month before you gave birth.
Yeah,
Like,
I
you
did.
were-
Yeah, I did leave a few weeks because I was like, it's so physically exhausting.
Yeah, I
Full body
can't-
waxing.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it is so physically like it's a freaking workout,
Yeah.
and I was very
Feeling it.
pregnant. I was very
She was
pregnant and
feeling it.
tired, and Sarah would be like putting my hair in a ponytail while I'm
Yep,
doing the
tying
Brazilian,
shoes.
tying my shoes, putting my hair up, like letting me sit down, fanning me, like anything, so that I wouldn't just like pass out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I think it was the end of April.
Yeah,
Was
it
my
was the end
first.
of
It was. I remember it was a Saturday.
Which is crazy
It
for
was,
us to do to you.
Yep.
Sorry.
I think it was. I know the date because it was so traumatizing. I think it was April 29th.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
left.
No, literally April 29th because Griffin was born on May.
Literally, it was as if Hannah was no longer there, and I just took everything over.
Yeah.
I was scared. I was so scared. Like, I, as much as you can watch a Brazilian, like, I did do a
Yeah.
couple models,
Yeah.
but like, watching
Yeah,
is
like
not.
between Sarah would bring in her models
Yeah.
and I would help her hands on.
Yeah, but like watching is not the same as like
Yeah.
doing. And there was so many times where you obviously you get so many different people, so many different
Yeah.
hair types. Like there was times where I would sit there like this and be like, what the fuck do I do next? And I'd
Yeah.
be like, Hannah, like I need her in the room right now.
And that's another thing. Like I was always in the room with you, so like no,
Yeah.
if you had a moment where you're like, oh God, I could always help.
yeah,
But like
and I
this,
could-
I was just gone.
ask Ellie, but like
Ellie hates waxing.
yeah,
We
she
can all
hates
be
waxing.
honest.
Also, Ellie's booked.
Yeah.
Booked to the gods. Like
Yeah.
she's not. She
It's
don't have
not
time
like
to
she
come
was
home.
there to help
I was
you.
like crawling through the vent, like, "Hey Ellie,
Ellie,
can I
you
ask
hear
you a
me?"
question real
And
quick?"
Ellie's like,
Yeah, no, there were days
Yeah.
where I would do a wax and start crying
Yeah.
because I was just like it just takes practice and like
Mm-hmm.
you have to like give yourself grace while you're learning. But like there were times where I was like, holy. Like I suck at this. Like
Yeah.
I'm so terrible. Her clients aren't gonna come back. Like I was
and
like,
she was not terrible.
and I was basically thrown into a full book
Mm-hmm.
from my very first day taking clients, which obviously I was so grateful for, but it was definitely challenging.
And it's not even like I was reachable. Like I was
you were
unreachable.
gone.
I was gone.
Yep.
You couldn't even. I mean, you could, but
I did here and there.
yeah, but
I also
only
felt
towards
bad.
the end.
Like, I
you
was
did-
like,
you
I'm
and Ellie
not
did
good, sir.
not reach
Yeah.
out about
Yeah,
that.
not like that. We reached out.
Yeah,
but not like
I'm like they don't
not
care
about
me.
waxing.
Yeah, no, they did not reach out to me about waxing for like until like a month after Griffin was born. So
Yeah.
I had left a month before he was born, and then a month later. So we're talking like in June.
Mm-hmm.
I finally was getting texts from Sarah saying like, Hannah, what the fuck?
Yeah,
did
I
you
literally
leave me
was
with?
Like, all right, I'm helpless. Like, I know you probably breastfeeding and shit over
And
there,
I was
but, like,
fine. I was like,
I need
yeah.
tips.
But at this point, I was like, oh my God, like I missed, like I wanted to like ask, but like
Yeah.
also I didn't want to overwhelm. I don't know. It was just so like,
It was a weird
it was a
time.
weird time. I didn't want her to be like, oh God, like she's like asking me and now I'm more scared. And then Ellie would call me and she would be like, what can I do?
Mm-hmm.
Not that Sarah was struggling, but it's just like meant like I always
Yeah.
say, you were just out of school, thrown into a full book. You did not have any help. You did not have any other waxers to like even relate to.
Yeah. It was to the point where
It was
I
like-
didn't think I wanted to wax.
Yeah, no, and that was so
Like,
understandable.
I was like, I don't think, like, once Hannah's back, like, let's leave the Brazilians to her, which is so funny because now I
She's
do them
so
in 15
good at it.
minutes. And
Literally.
it's, like, my favorite wax.
Yeah.
So,
And it's so like, oh God, like I just love hearing that because like it's just so, I don't know. I
Practice
just
makes perfect.
Yeah, practice makes perfect. And I'm just so happy that I could help her like do Brazilians in 15 minutes. Like, hello?
Yeah.
That's amazing. There's people who've been waxing for so long who can't do that.
So yeah, and I was also building a book of my own, which was so exciting.
Which was so slay.
Shout out Ashley, my very first real client that wasn't my friend.
I love that.
Oh my God, she still comes to me today.
And she
She's-
will forever.
Yeah.
And those are the best clients
it's the
ever.
best feeling ever that like someone trusts you to not only like do this intimate service, but just to keep coming back and like they had a pleasant experience with you because I know there's people that didn't have a pleasant
Yeah,
experience
of
with me
course.
at times.
Oh, not
so-
with you, but in general with waxing.
Yeah.
I know it's really, you know.
Yeah. So I was building a book of my own and it was just going really good.
And then I came back
And it was awkward.
as fuck.